Okay, so what is good, everyone? Welcome back. Today I am going to start a little series where I talk about how exactly I would try and do a rank 1 parse when it comes to every boss in Nax. So the series is going to start with let me mute that. The series is going to start with Patchwork. It's one of the more simple fights, but at the same time you really got to be on your shit. Okay, so I actually forgot. I wanted to give you guys the talents that I would use for the Patchwork fight. I'm just gonna go through everything really quick. Standard talents, or standard glyphs rather. The only caveat to this would be if there's some kind of glyph swapping meta where you would like swap out, I don't know, fucking haunt glyph for corruption glyph or some bullshit like that, and you would like swap it pre-pull. I don't fucking know. Something with glyph life tap, something like that. Could be that. I'm still open to that. Again, this is before Nax even releases. This is before Wrath even comes out, so just keep that in mind. So let's go through talents. So you get your improved corruption. You're gonna be running suppression. There's nothing better to put this into. Same for your agony. Again, this is purely for Patchwork and what I would do. Soul siphon. So this is where you actually have enough points to start putting it in Fel concentration, but for Patchwork, you don't have any pushback, so you may as well just get some kind of DPS increase. Another talent that you could take, I would not take this just because the Affliction, so if you read this, it's just Affliction threat reduction when it comes to PvE. This is not where a majority of your threat comes from. A majority of your threat comes from Destro spells, which is going to be this talent. So I go ahead and put that in improved life tap. It's just a little extra mana, it's DPS increase. And then you are going to want Amplify Curse. Even at Nax Bis, you're going to be under, I want to say it's like 850 or 900 haste is where this talent starts becoming worthless, just because of how global cooldown and haste interact. But then after that, it's just standard talents. You get your Nightfall, Empower Corruption, you get Embrace, you get your improved Fel Hunter. The only caveat to this is if Patchwork literally starts dying in under a minute, that means that you're not even going to use Fel Hunter. In that case, you can either put it into, you can put these 2 points into Affliction range, or you could just go ahead and pick this up. But if you are using Fel Hunter at all during the fight, this talent is godly, so make sure you don't skip it. Then Shadow Mastery, Eradication, Contagion, Malediction, all these same talents that you normally have with the Affliction tree. Same thing for the Destruction portion of it. The only change that I make is instead of the intensity from pushback, I go ahead and get reduced threat on my Destro spells. I think you could even pull, yeah, so if you don't spec into this, you could actually get some more threat reduction instead of the Affliction threat reduction. I would actually do that first. Again, the only time that you do that is if the boss fight is actually under 1 minute, because that's all that your Inferno lasts. But yeah, this is everything that you're gonna want. Going over my UI real quick, the only changes that I would really make, first off, I would have my mana bar somewhere down here, so I'm not constantly having to look up and whatnot. Luckily, with the way that a lot of these weak ores that are coming out are created, they actually have the mana bar, and all these weak ores are a little bit better than the private server ones. I do like the private server ones, but there's just a lot more that you can add to these. But this is private server footage. I'm not getting every single buff, and I'm not getting spam tricks and stuff like that, but I think this is a good way to see exactly what I'm thinking and what I'm doing pre-pull and all that stuff. So for the setup, this is Warmane, where the bosses are buffed about 80% health. So first thing that you should really do is look at like your estimated kill time. If you're at like 2 minutes, you should probably you should probably have something that's going to tell you like when you should be using Infernal. This is your big cooldown over here. It only lasts a minute is the reason why. But let's get into the pull. So as you can see, we're about to pull. We're at 25 seconds. What I'm doing right now is pre-stacking my Alu. If you look at my buffs, I have some little threat reduction. I have focus magic. These are like midsummer buffs, so you might not have these. You have your little cozy fire. Cozy fire is actually 1 spell power, so very important. But with the pre-pull here, the thing that I would change here is I would have, so what I have here is an unequip and equip item macro. This is, you can do this at any with any pieces of gear, but it's really important that you know beforehand the actual ICD, because they actually changed how Warmane worked. It used to be 45-second or 30-second ICD for trinket, and then it was also 30 for the cloak, but they actually aligned them differently. So now I think this is, I think your trinket is still 30 on private servers, but for your cloak, I want to say it's a minute. So you would ideally have to actually have 2 different macros to equip and unequip at different times. But anyway, we're about to start the pull. So again, I have my loose stacked. I see there's 10 seconds. I'm not really doing anything, just making sure this gets at least 10 seconds of it. And this is around where I should stop health funneling, because I know we're going to pull in. We're not going to pull it exactly 5 seconds. We're going to pull it like, 1 second before that. That's when we're going to start casting our Shadow Bolt. So as long as you have at least, 2 extra seconds over your pull timer, then you're good. And I should really be life tapping here, which I start doing, but it was a little mistimed. So I life tap here with 2 seconds, and I think I'm like I'm actually mid global right here. But anyway, I actually get the pre-pot. They kind of pulled early. Luckily, I still got the pre-pot without getting in fucking combat. Open with Shadow Bolt, always open with Shadow Bolt. Boss is getting pulled to us, so the Shadow Bolt's gonna land pretty quickly. You can see it in the air there. Another thing about the weak aura that they're introducing, they actually have a travel time tracker on Haunt, and I kind of hope that they do something like that with Shadow Bolt, but it probably won't get implemented very early. But anyway, so Shadow Bolt lands. I throw up my UA and Agony just because I'm still waiting on tricks. And you never really know on Patchwork if your rogues are literally going to walk in and die without even meleeing, so you might not even get the tricks. But what you're doing is you're basically just buying time. You're using globals until the tricks gets on you. Now that I have the tricks, I have my Haunt flying in the air. I can finally throw that Corruption and just start your normal rotation. Around this point, yeah, so I call for Lust here. We should have had Lust like a little bit earlier, so I could have done a little better there, but yeah. But as you can see here, the most important thing is getting that fucking ICD tracker on your stuff, because my stuff isn't even procced right now. It still hasn't procced. During Lust, I had my Eradication. It finally procs after what, like 15 seconds of fight or something like that. So but let's just keep watching this together. Mindful of my mana. Again, you reapply Haunt early. You want to always know the travel time and make sure that you're getting that right. Reapply my Agony. My Tailoring Cloak finally procs at 75% health, so that is just no bueno. I actually clipped a UA there. You never want to do that. What I was actually trying to do is give myself ample time to where I'd have my life tap as well as my 4-piece during Lust, and this tailoring proc, but I wanted it all together, but I ended up clipping that. So we're at 70%. Lust is starting to come off. Reapplied Haunt a little early there. If you watch this, Haunt generally has around like a 1.5 to 2 second travel time depending on how close you are to the boss. So you don't need to apply it at 4 seconds. I definitely could have got another Shadow Bolt in there instead, just because I had Lust still. But that's not a massive DPS loss, but it is a little bit. That's another thing I like doing. So this life tap here is just to get the little extra with the Lust. Then I also try and align the 4-piece life tap with my Dying Curse. But yeah, my mana is pretty good. I'm getting around the point, so I don't have a kill time tracker, but we've done this so many times that I already know that I should be using around 35 to 40%. So I'm making sure that I still have mana up here for my Infernal, because your Infernal actually costs a shit ton of mana. I'm also calling for a Hymn of Hope. Another thing, that's another min-max thing, is I didn't get any Innervates. That's another thing that you're going to want to coordinate with your people. But I've been calling for a Mana Hymn for a while. It just gives you a little extra mana. Also, if you haven't noticed, I've been throwing bombs on cooldown. Finally get the Hymn of Hope. It comes perfectly with the Infernal and the Flame Cap and whatnot. But as we hit that 35%, I see my little Death's Embrace indicators coming up. So I'm waiting on this next Tricks. And I would highly recommend that you track Tricks as well as Power Infusion, because this, as you can see here, I'm not like, oh my god, where's my Tricks, where's my Tricks, where's my Tricks? I know that it's on cooldown. You know what I mean? I'm not freaking out. I'm like, okay, I can just blast some more Shadow Bolts while I wait. But I ping him because I'm an asshole, I guess. This early haunt was actually good because, as you can see, I had no haste buffs, so it's not ever worth it to lose haunt. But if you have Lust, if you have Eradication or something like that, I would just throw in another Shadow Bolt. You're 99% chance you're gonna be fine. So I finally get that Tricks. I also life tapped just because. So I life tap here because what Mana Hymn does is it doesn't give you mana. It has a chance to give you mana, but what it's doing is it's making your mana pool bigger. So as soon as this Mana Hymn drops, my mana is going to shoot to nothing. So I noticed that, and I go ahead and life tap here just so I don't completely go out of mana. Okay, so I get the life tap, and then I finally get my Tricks at, what is this, 25? Not the worst, just because when it comes to Trixing at like sub 30, you can actually, usually you can clip it with your Drained Soul, because your Drained Soul phase is coming up, and especially with Classic. I would actually opt for like a 32 or 33% Tricks on Patchwork. But again, if you notice, my trinkets were not, or my trinket and my Tailored Cloak were just not aligned well here. I do get the Dying Curse in execute, but I am pretty sure if I just, had that fucking unequip equip macro with my cloak, I could have gotten both during execute. But anyway, let's see. So execute hits, I make sure that haunt's flying in the air, and let's go a little slower here. So as you can see, I'm at 25.6. There is an argument, if you're fucking quick enough, there is an argument for literally just waiting like a millisecond and waiting to hit that 25% instead of this Shadow Bolt. I actually think that was the play here, but I was, too slow. So I do get the Power Infusion at a perfect time right after my Bolt, and I still had that Tricks, and then I have my Haste Spot, I still have my Infernal and stuff going, so kind of perfect. My mana is still good. And I do notice that my Dying Curse is coming up. Dying Curse is actually going to give you a little more damage than Tricks. Tricks is about 15%, and then Dying Curse is a little over 20 just because of how much spell power proc it is. You would have to be mindful of what exactly your current gear level is. And also, for that same weak war that I keep alluding to, it's the Murphin weak war. It actually, I don't know precisely how good it is, but it is tracking like how much damage you're gonna lose or whatever. It tracks how much spell power you're gonna lose. So maybe that's something to look into. But I am waiting on my Dying Curse to proc, and I should rechannel. I don't know if I do or not, but so let's go back a little bit. During these few ticks, I do have a lot of haste, so I can hold it for a while, but I cannot let this haunt drop. So I go for that haunt after that last tick. And you may even notice that my UA was also about to fall, and you might think, oh, well, this has 4 seconds and this has 3, so I should just UA into haunt. Nah, not worth it. Not worth it at all. But also, the boss's percent health is at 17.5, so I am gonna still cast that UA. Usually it's a 1-to-1. On private servers, it's a 1-to-1. So like if this has 14 seconds and UA lasts 14 seconds, then that's perfect. But if you're at 10%, I don't usually cast UA that low. Okay, so I get the Drain off, Dying Curse, PI, and my Haste Pot are still going. The reason I used that Trance there, and a lot of people ask me this, like, when do you use Trance in Execute? The reason I use this Trance is actually because my Haunt was not off of cooldown yet, but I did need to refresh. I did need to refresh my Corruption, because I'm getting to the point where my haste is so fucking high that my Corruption might actually fall off, even like mid-drain, because you notice that my Corruption is actually even lower cast on a Haunt, and that doesn't even include travel time or anything. So I'm waiting on this Haunt to come. Like, ideally, I can Haunt here. If this was a little lower and it was actually off cooldown, I would Haunt after this tick, but I go ahead and Trance just because my Haunt wasn't up, just to make sure my Corruption doesn't fall. And then my Agony is about to fall off. Let's go a little slower here. This is 245. Let's stop at 245. Okay, so right here, I see that my Agony is about to fall off, but it's so close to potentially being clipped. You never ever want to do that. So I just go for the straight Haunt. Haunt's a little early because I have that haste proc, but so I go for the Haunt. And even Agony at this low percent, I probably shouldn't have even casted it. I'll actually see at the end of the fight. I probably shouldn't have even casted that Agony, but anyway, so I go for the Drain again. Gloves are off cooldown, but I'm holding an Eradication. Eradication's a little better than Gloves. I think Gloves are 15, and then Eradication's your 20 haste. This UA was awful. I don't know why I casted that. I think I was just kind of freaking out because of my Alu, and I wanted to use my Gloves. But what I should have done in that place is literally just Haunt and then Drain, and no UA. And I still had that life tap. It doesn't matter if your life tap drops at this point. First off, it's not that high of a damage increase. I want to say it's 5% if you look at just straight the raw spell power or whatever. But what Drain Soul does is it snapshots your spell power. So I already snapshotted this life tap anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So right around here, this is just kind of like gee whiz, but right towards the end of the fight, if you know you're not going to get another tick of Drain Soul, just go ahead and throw a Shadow Flame. I also should have thrown a Bomb. That's another thing that you should have, is be tracking all your consumables and shit. You should just have it right here. So anyway, I get this last tick. I see, okay, 1%. I have a long ass cast. Just go for the Shadow Flame, and boom, that's it. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna do all the bosses. but just going through everything on what I could have done better and how I got the rank 1 parse. Another thing that you notice is that Warriors have this thing where they never want to use Shattering Throw. It's amazing to me because they don't do any fucking damage. And they also don't Sunder, which is going to affect your pet damage. So I would definitely have some kind of tracker, and that would make sure that your Warrior's not fucking trolling. But yeah, that was Patchwork. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll be doing all the next bosses, and then I'll probably get around to all of tier 7, but you know, Malygos and OS are kind of like whatever fights. Usually you're probably gonna do split runs or whatnot. So but yeah, thanks for watching, and have a good one.